Hello, good evening, and thank you for joining us on Easter Sunday edition of News at 10 on TV3. I'm Stephen Enti. Let's first take a look at the major news highlights of the day. Students and teachers of Nyamiadum DA Junior High School in the Ahafua North South District of the Ashanti region can now heave a sigh of relief following the handing over of a 3-unit classroom block by philanthropists. This result follows a series of reports by TV3 on the bad learning conditions students and teachers endure over the years. And Chief of Kwapia in the Ashanti region, Nana Jamira Kwabena Oyakwa, says Galamsey has gained prominence because some chiefs support it. He noted the fight against Galamsey would be a fiasco if chiefs in the mining areas are not consulted. And residents of Abesim and Dawa in the East Achim district fear to use the bridge that connects the two communities. Cocoa farmers in the area have expressed worry produce gets stuck on farms. School children also have to endure the danger of the bridge to go to school. The Tema and Ashaman Fire Service have asked residents to adhere to fire safety measures to avert an outbreak. This comes in the wake of increased domestic fires during the festive season. And thousands of migrants have been rescued from the sea near Libya during one of the busiest weekends of the year to rescue workers. The Italian Coast Guard said more than 2,000 people were rescued on Friday and 3,000 on Saturday in dozens of separate rescues. But at least 7 people drowned as aid workers struggled to rescue more than 1,500 migrants in one operation. And in Turkey, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has claimed victory in the referendum on granting him sweeping new powers, saying it was won by a clear majority. Yes secured 51.35% and no had 48.65%. Erdogan supporters say replacing the parliamentary system with an executive presidency will modernize their country. The two main opposition parties are challenging the results. So those are major news highlights. Let's continue now. Citizen Ghana Movement, a civil society group, has called on the Electoral Commission to furnish it with copies of the annual audited accounts and assets and revenues of all 24 registered political parties. The group in a statement indicated that it had written to the Electoral Commission on the 29th of March 2017 in this regard. Right, so we have George Enti. He's the head of media relations, Citizen Ghana Movement. George, it's great to have you here. I'm smiling because we had to quickly get you on set. Now, tell me what these concerns are. Why are you requesting these statements from the Electoral Commission, statements of assets and liabilities of the various political parties? Why do you need it?
Okay, thank you very much, Stephen, and good evening to your wonderful viewers. The Constitution places a duty on political parties to declare their assets and their revenues, and also declare the sources of these assets and revenues. And we find this in Article 55, Clause 14 of the 1992 Constitution. This is a duty that since 1992, when the Constitution was promulgated, we have not seen any political party comply with. And we at Citizen Ghana are concerned because we know that at the back of the massive octopus of corruption and political patronage is the issue of how our political parties are financed. So because there is this dark room where the financing takes place. And
what do you say dark room? Is it to suggest that you think there is less transparency in the body politic of Ghana?
We think there is little or no transparency when it comes to political party financing. You know, when you have a political party in power, you find all the other political parties pointing fingers at that party and saying, you are using state funds.
Whether what shouldn't have been the case if there was a functioning regulation to guide operations of political party. There is,
and
but
there is Section 21 and Section 14 of the Political Parties Act strengthen this constitutional requirement. So the question is, why has it not been done? Or has it been done and the EC is not making it public? Why is that when we visit the websites of these political parties, we cannot see this there? Outside in other jurisdictions, this is not something that is hidden. Where you get your money from to, you know, run your campaigns and all of that, it's no secret.
I know seeking the information, writing to the Electoral Commission and requesting that information be given to you as a civil society group, as a citizen, even if you went as an individual citizen of the Republic of Ghana. But to what end do you use this information for, and what happens if you don't get it?
Well, let me answer the second part first. If we don't get it, we'll just follow suit with what we did with the bus branding issue.
You go to court.
When we requested documents, simple documents, and were denied. We went to court, and then the court said, look, these documents are not state secrets. Give it to them. So we have that ruling there, and it's precedent. We can always go back to court and rely on that, you know. Now, what are we going to use that information for? Like I said in the beginning, there are so many, you know, rumors out there, and these rumors have festered for a long period about how people have been getting money from foreign donors, and so when they come into power, their hands are in people's mouths, and virtually the country is ruled by certain interests that are not necessarily Ghanaian, you know. And there's also the issue of what do you call it, corruption. There's the issue of use of state funds for political party financing and all of that. And we want to get to the bottom of these matters. We want to find out the truth or otherwise in these matters. And which better way to do this than to find out the accounts, what the accounts of these political parties are, where they get their monies from. That's a very, very important thing. Because even with this government, this present government, we've heard rumors that the 110 ministers is just job for the boys because people put their money into the campaign and they have to be rewarded. So do you expect, for example, to see the stream of income to the various political parties, including the ruling government, and perhaps you are expecting that out of the 110, 3 might be financiers? Is that what you're expecting? Well, that's what is out there. These are rumors that are out there, and you know that there's very little that you can do with rumors if you don't have any facts to back them. So let's get the records. Then let's peruse the records. And then whatever we find in the records, because these are records that should be public anyway, We will put it out there. Then let everybody draw their conclusions. But if we look in and we find out that certain people have received certain funds that are contrary to law, so let's say if the law says that you, Stephen, you cannot fund a political party, and we find out that political party A has received money from Stephen, then we know that that political party has broken the law.
So what, you will name and shame, or you go to court?
No, Stephen, the first step is to name and shame. Then the next step is to make sure that the law works, because laws are not meant to be breached. That's not why we make laws. You know, so if the law is there and the law is clear and the political parties are deviating from the law, then somebody must bring them to book. And we believe that it is our duty as a civil society group to do that, because we must start the cleansing from within, from the people who rule us. And if they can put their house into order, maybe when they win power, they can put Ghana into order.
Now, this is a tricky one, but some might ask, why now?
Well, Stephen, I would ask them, if not now, then when? You know, if we had done it last year, people would have asked us.
When the NDC was in power.
They would have said, why now? You know, so it has to be done at some point. You know, at some point, you must put your foot down. Look at this anti-Galamsey thing. Why now? Yes. So, I mean...
So there's no rigid period when you can take such actions.
No, as a civil society group, we have a plan. We have a program we are following through. So, on our plan, this is the time to pursue this issue.
Right,
and
so
that is why we're pursuing it.
Is there any other information you're demanding of the Electoral Commission, apart from what you've said, the assets and liabilities of the parties pursuant to Section 14(1) of the Political Parties?
Then also
Anything
the audited accounts for the past year, and the law requires that they should have submitted these to the EC latest by the 4th of November last year. Right. So we expect that if they did comply with the law, the EC will already be in custody of these documents. So receiving them should not be any problem, you know. And once we get them, like we have said, we'll look through them and we'll let the public know whether our political parties who come out there and make promises to us, who we vote for, who we entrust with power to rule us, themselves follow the law that we are all governed by, you know. So let's get it. I don't think that the EC would want to drag this matter out. Right. If they drag it out, we would go to court, and it will be the same thing as the bus branding issue.
Right. Mr. George Enti, we're grateful for your time. Thank you very much for joining us. George Enti is the head of media relations, Citizen Ghana Movement, and he joined us there. Remember that we're streaming live on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. We have more news for you. Please stay. Welcome back. Now, a number of health service providers under the National Health Insurance Scheme NHIS have not been paid their claims for the past 9 months. Some health facilities whose monthly claims are outstanding are threatening to resort to cash and carry. The NHIA, the National Health Insurance Authority, has more than 4,000 service providers across the country and pays between 80 and 90 million cedis monthly claims to them. So let's have a chat on this. Frank Richard Tobulu is the Executive Director of the Health Insurance Service Providers. He's joining us in studio tonight. Good evening, sir, and thank you extremely for your time.
Thank you. Good evening, and good evening to our cherished listeners.
I know it's not a pleasant thing when you're old. I mean, you provide a service, you use your own resources and logistics to provide healthcare, and on the basis of insurance, you're supposed to get the pay later. Now, when it drags, it is worry. Tell me how much the National Health Insurance Authority owes the various providers in quantum.
As at last week, the data we gathered was 618 million Ghana cedis.
That's a lot.
Yeah, 618 million Ghana cedis. And We continue to collect
over $500 million.
Exactly. So we continue to collect more from
So
regions.
let's break it down. Averagely, how many service providers do you have?
Presently, we
3,000, 1,500.
Now, when you put the government facilities together with the private sector, we're looking at 4,150 service providers.
And averagely, NHIA owes each one how much? Averagely. I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly, but averagely.
Some provide 20, I mean, almost 35,000 Ghana cedis.
Interesting. So, since last week, your members, have they received any payments? Because we got assurances from the health authority that very soon members will be paid. Do you have any payments at all?
The answer is simple, no.
And have you followed up to find out why the promise to pay soon has elapsed and nobody has paid anything?
Yes, we followed up.
What were you told?
The information we have gathered is government has not released money to the National Health Insurance yet, and we continue to wait for them. But the issue here is, do we have to continue to wait and providing service? We have a huge challenge at hand. One, SSNIT is presently taking our members to court. And this is happening particularly in the private sector.
Why?
The answer
for
is
non-payment
for non-payment of contribution on
behalf
behalf
but
of
contributions. What has contributions got to do with your premiums that you know, the service you provide and the National Health Insurance Authority owing you? I thought that if you were operating a business and you were employing people, you should be paying their contributions.
That is excellent.
That's binding by law.
That is excellent. By law, providers are required to pay that. But the issue here is, as I speak to you, 95% of revenue to service providers in this country is coming from the National Health Insurance Scheme. And here we are, the health service providers are owed barely 10 to 11 months. And some providers are owed 12 months. And if government that owes providers 95% of their total revenue has not been able to pay.
That's more like crippling those
Exactly.
businesses.
So if another arm of government is taking these, people to court, then the ultimate result is that these very people are supposed to resort to cash and carry. All right?
So they can break even.
Exactly. Because if you do not do that, there is no way you are going to escape this. The last time I mentioned this here, that we were in this country, where a very prominent personality in this country has been sentenced, jailed for non-payment of contribution on behalf of his employees. And here we are experiencing similar situation. Bolga, Volta region, Eastern region, Greater Accra region, Ashanti region, SSNIT is prosecuting members. Not that alone, we're also talking about GRA. GRA is also coming aggressively, demanding their pound of flesh. There was an interesting case in court where one of the providers were taken there. The judge made a comment. Well, by law, you are required to pay this within a certain time frame. If you have not been able to pay, I am going strictly according to the law and deal with you accordingly. Now, this is just suggesting to us that it is time healthcare providers...
You think that is unfair, considering that the law is grinding you at one side, the government, which is of course prosecuting you at the other side, owes you so much. You think that is unfair? I need us to put that on record. You think it's unfair?
They're treating you very unfair. Unfairly. Unfair treatment.
So on Tuesday, your members are meeting in the Ashanti region to make a decision to go cash and carry. Correct?
Exactly. What we're going to do is this. We're going to sell medicines. Okay? The services are provided. That one is the professional expertise. The providers can decide to provide that services. But when it comes to drugs, trust me, I am just therefore advising the general public that when we are moving to any facility, just make available cash so that when medicine lists are given to you, you should be in a position to procure it. Otherwise, we cannot continue. Let me give you an instance. The pharmacy, the Pharmaceutical Society had already indicated that they are no longer going to provide their medicines to any hospital in the country. on credit, not for free.
Obviously.
They are not going to do it any longer.
Credit, sorry,
so if they are not doing this any longer, and we have to spend money to buy it, why then do we get the money? We can only get the money if the health insurance pays us. So once you are not ready to pay, and we are also not ready to go to court and possibly jailed.
That's the whole thing. Why are you not going to court to compel the National Health Insurance Authority to pay you what it owes you? Otherwise, I mean, I don't see why you're sitting back without going to court.
Very good.
Because you're being prosecuted by the Revenue Authority and SNITS, like you just said.
Exactly.
Why are you not going to court to sue the National Health Insurance Authority?
There was a move to take a similar an action in this regard, but we had a very nice discussion with the National Health Insurance Authority that resulted to signing a memorandum of understanding, suggesting to us that they were going to pay. All right. Now, when we live by this memorandum of understanding, we were strongly believing that they were going to live by the tenets of their own words, which never happened. But then, mind you, if you want to take a government institution to court, there are a whole lot of processes that you have to go through. I am not a lawyer, but I do know that you have to go through a whole lot of processes. You have to give them an indication that, well, for 1, 2, 3 reasons, we are taking you to court. Okay? Now, you have to go through a whole lot of processes. But, of course, getting to where we have come far, it is important for us to take a similar action and to ensure that whatever that providers are owed is given. Otherwise, trust me, in the next 2 months, you hear that provider A is jailed, provider B is jailed for non-payment of contribution on behalf of his staff, and which is very terrible and innocent.
Terrible. I can imagine.
And trust me, the judge who will eventually do that, his family might have been benefiting from the services of this innocent person. I mean, this is a fact. You cannot run away from it. You see it, and yet that innocent person is going to jail for non-payment of. I mean, so it's a very precarious situation that we need to be extremely careful. So I would want to suggest that going forward, Tuesday, 19th, any Ghanaian going to any hospital should carry sufficient money to buy medicines, or else you'll be turned away. So
effective Tuesday, your members are going to resort to cash and carry.
Exactly. That is Wednesday. We want it on Wednesday. Because Tuesday is going to be the first working day. We are expecting that it's going to expedite action to ensure that some money hits the coffers of the providers. So that if that happens on Tuesday, Wednesday, no action. But then if it doesn't happen across the country, general people in this country should make funds available when they hit the hospital, or else they will be mesmerized. Yeah, sure.
Mr. Toblu, thank you very much for your time. Mr. Richard Frank Toblu is with the is with the health service providers. Let's move on now to do some other stories. Students and teachers of Nyame Adom DA Junior High School in the Ahafo South District of the Ashanti region can now heave a sigh of relief following the handing over of a 3-unit classroom block by a philanthropist. This result follows a series of reports by TV3 on the bad learning conditions students and teachers endure over the years.
The Nyame Adom DA Primary and Junior High School has over the years been using this deplorable classroom block. The poor state of the structure impeded effective studies, especially under unfavorable weather conditions. The walls had developed deep cracks, which poses safety risk to the pupils and teachers. Following a series of reports by TV3 on the state of the school, a philanthropist, Ajuman Bedu, aided the school with a new 3-unit classroom block. Headmaster of the school, Sami Yao Kwedule, was grateful for the gesture. He was optimistic the new structure will enhance academic work.
What Mr. Ajuman Bedu has given to us is what we are very pleased with. And this will improve the education, teaching and learning in our school here. In fact, when it is coming to rain, we will not have any problem.
A JHS2 pupil, Anthony Japan, pleaded for support to access computers for practical ICT lessons. Mr. Ajuman Bedu emphasized the need to provide quality education to Ghanaians and urged students to disassociate themselves from acts that ruin their education.
If you're educating a child, if you're educating the whole nation, if you give your property to your child and don't have education, he's going to sell it. That is the reason why he encouraged me to create this school for the community.
Mr. Bedu also presented a school with exercise and textbooks to aid effective teaching and learning.
And Ghanaians have been urged to let the love exhibited by Christ's death and resurrection reflect in their daily lives. Head pastor of the I Am Miracle Ministries International, Pastor Andy Pepra, was addressing the Easter Sunday service in Accra.
The church auditorium was filled to capacity as congregants gathered to mark Easter Sunday, the resurrection of Christ. Delivering the sermon, head pastor of the I Am Miracle Ministries International, Pastor Andy Pepra, encouraged children of God to sacrifice for mankind as Christ did by going to the cross to redeem us from sin.
It is about time that this Easter must bring us back to that love example that Jesus showed us 2,000 years ago, that we will not only love with our mouths, but we will love with our actions. We must love the nation, especially when things are down, when things are rough, when things are not going well.
He urged Ghanaians to work hard and support the current administration deliver on its promise and make Ghana a better place.
And on that encouraging note, we draw the curtains for news at 10. I'm Stephen Antia, and a happy Easter to all of you Christians who have been watching us. There is more news at 3news.com, and on behalf of the crew here, good night.